by your experience, your practice, acumen, your critical thinking acumen, your technical acumen, and ethical leadership. You will do your show, you will perform for 8 hours. Another 8 of the 8 hours, you submit this well written response. And I want you guys, when you submit this, is it going to be on the 4th? I think, is it on the 4th or the 6th of December this year? Let me actually quickly check. December. It will be on the 4th. When you guys submit your response at 5 o'clock on the 4th, I want you guys to, okay, there are two walks that you're gonna make. The first walk is when you walk in that morning it might be Gallagher Estate if you're in Midrand, or anywhere else around the country, or in Zim, or in Namibia, or wherever you are writing from, because you can write from different areas. I want you to really be proud of yourself to say, I've prepared sufficiently, I'm a subject area expert. I want you to go get in there for 8 hours flat, really putting together brilliant responses. And yeah, I think you guys survive on energy bars and a sandwich here and there. But whilst you are there, crafting it and making sure that you're chasing that 8-hour deadline. And at the moment you submit that response of yours, I want you to have that feeling internally that this is it. I've done everything in my power to really demonstrate to SAICA, to ICAS, to ICANN that I am ready to be admitted into this profession. And I want you to feel a sense of pride to say, I've given it my best and I've done well. I don't want you to walk out of there being like, shucks, I should have done this, I should have done that. Whatever you think you should have done, you must do it. You must do it within the 8 hours so that we don't have any other options. But when we go for marking, we really, when we look at your script, we like, this person is ready for an entry into the profession. So then if you look at the right-hand side of my slide, that's where you're going to see then our job now. All right. So our job as markers is to award you level of professional competencies. It's either we're going to say your script was empty, so you submitted an empty script, so you are a no attempt candidate. And everything that I've written in red, you can tell it's a fail. So if you didn't attempt, it will be a no attempt. Or if you attempted the tasks, but really you really didn't come to the party at all. There was not much that we were assessing. There were no competencies whatsoever that we picked up that we could say you are demonstrating. Then we will say you are not competent. That's very rare. It's very rare that we award not competent because I mean, even if you demonstrate one competency, one technical competency, already shows that you've got some competency. So you can't be a not competent. But it's only in cases where you did not demonstrate a single competency that will say not competent. And when I say not competent or a single competency, I'm excluding communication indicators. So even if you did demonstrate communication indicators, but you didn't demonstrate technical business acumen, critical thinking, ethical leadership, or any of those, then we will say not competent. But if you demonstrated some level of competence, but not enough, then we'll say limited competent. And if you did enough and what we actually want, we will say you are competent. Or if you even went over and beyond, Kudzi, and you really did more than what is required of a competent candidate, then we will say you are highly competent. All right. But then there will be a few fine between that they have done not enough to be competent, but they just there. They just missed it by, call it one or something. They were very close to competent. What do we call those guys? So so they were very, very close to competent. Okay, but they're not competent. We'll call them borderline. They really on the border. It's like if it was an ITC or it was a marked assessment where we award marks, you would be sitting on a 50% mark. You will be sitting on a 50% mark. That's a borderline, meaning you could either be thrown into the pass or you could be thrown into the fail. So you are really at the borderline at the 50th percentile. And we need to then evaluate which direction we drop you into the left limited competent or into the right borderline competent. Okay. Petunia is saying, oh yes. Yes, sometimes, yes, we've got this false feeling that it went well, but when it didn't go well. Yeah, I know what you're talking about, Petunia. We're close to competent, ne? That is how I felt last year too. I get you, Petunia. So then Katabatle is saying how many competent are needed to be graded an overall competent. We'll talk about that. Yeah, Wisani is saying I see a lot of subjectivity, unfortunately. Yeah, well, it's a very subjective assessment because it really requires chartered accountants coming together and really applying their mind as to whether it falls into limited competent, borderline competent, or competent or highly competent. Okay. So how do we do this? We do this in a three-step approach. We first assess this competence at an indicator level, and then at a task level and at an overall level. So what do I mean at a task level? Let's start with the task level. Remember, the example we've been using is that they had triggered that they're going to ask you to do something on deferred tax. And you prepared IS-12 and you came to the party. And then on the day, they gave you an IS-12, a deferred tax calculation and say, review it for us. And maybe one of the review notes that you were supposed to pick up was that, let's say they raised a deferred tax on temporary differences arising at initial recognition of a business combination, which is exempt in terms of paragraph 15 of IS-12. Okay. Sorry if I went a little bit technical for a non-accountant, but yeah, you've got an exemption for business combination at acquisition fair value adjustments in some instances, let's say. And then and they had recognized a deferred tax on that, but you shouldn't. And I guess as your review note, you should have picked up that and you say it is incorrect to have done this because of 1, 2, 3. That's a technical competency to demonstrate that you have that technical ability to pick up such. So do you see in your script, it's either you got it or you didn't get it. So have you achieved this indicator of competence? It will be a yes or no. Okay. Also, but there will be a couple of other review notes. Let's say there are 10 review notes in that schedule that you deferred tax schedule that you should have identified when we look at the actual expert solution, what we call the specimen solution. It's identified 10 review notes from that schedule. Then I guess you missed one, meaning you still have the opportunity to get the other 9. It's not like we expect you to get all 10 of them to be competent. Then we discuss as the senior marking team to say, okay, based on the reviews, if you were to review this and you've got all the time, all experts put together in one room, they will identify 10 indicators or 10 review notes. But a candidate that is writing this in a stressful environment, having an hour or less for each task, how many indicators and which specific indicators do we probably require them to achieve before we declare them competent in that deferred text task? Out of 10, let's say, and I'm going to just throw a random number, let's say 6. It sounds fair because it usually is not going to be 5 because 5 is borderline because that's your borderline. It's your 50% mark. So I would say, okay, let's say 6. It could be 7, but let's say 6, okay, to be fair. So if you get 6 indicators competent, if you get 5 borderline. So you see, you can miss 4 or write them wrong, the 4, but if you write the other 6 very well, you get competent. If you get 5 borderline, if you get 4 out of 10, then it's a limited competent, then it's a fail. Okay, so then do you see, I've done an assessment at an indicator level, and then I've also then done it on a task level to say, at a total task, what are you? And then now you've got 7 tasks. Yes, one of them was the deferred text and you got either competent, borderline, or limited. But then what does it do to the overall? And we will get to that. Okay. Oh, I see. Let me see the comments. Ketabashle says, it degraded prior years. Were better last year. The one year I was so confident it was worse. Honsi, if you get 1 LC, does that impact the overall result with the others being a mix of Cs and BCs? And Honsi, that's where I'm going to go next to assess you at an overall level. What else? So if you are borderline, you are a borderline competent, it's probably because one failed on coverage, most likely. Yes, most likely. On borderlines, it's either you didn't get enough, meaning you didn't cover enough items. That's where you usually land on a borderline. There could be instances where you've got enough coverage, NKM, but maybe one of the core that we wanted, you didn't achieve as well. It be maybe identifying an ethical dilemma or something that is a gating. It either can land you in LC, even though you've got enough coverage, or land you on BC. So these are discussed up front so that we know what we call a straw man. Okay, so if you see the assessment tools, that we use as markers, firstly is the specimen solution, where we actually have an expert solution that was reviewed, was not done under pressure, and really is a perfect solution, which will contain all the 10 review notes on the deferred text, well written, no question asked. Then we take that 10, that specimen solution, we convert it into what we call a marking grid, which is sort of like a rubric to say, okay, just a summary of those key 10 points, just the indicators or the competencies that it's addressing. And then the strawman is this thing I'm talking about, which is saying, if you've got 6 out of the 10 indicators correct, then you are competent. If you get 5 out of 10, then it's borderline competent. And if you've got anything below 5 out of 10, then it's limited competent. That is what we call a strawman. It's a strawman profile, meaning it's profiling candidates now. Okay. All right. Then if you look at the bottom there, we've got entry-level chartered account competency. Okay, so then now let's go into, so that remember, I still have to address you guys on an overall. Okay, and I'm going to do so. But before I do the overall assessment, I want to talk to you guys about our journey here at EPC. Our journey is to, at the end of this program, and I want everyone to listen and to listen carefully. This is the most important part of this lecture as well. I want you guys to pause and say, I need an EPC certificate. Who am I? Am I a first-time candidate? Either first time from a CA traditional route or first time from a CIMA to CA pathway. Yes, you are a first time candidate. Remember, first time candidates include candidates that were first timers last year or the year before, but did not pass a professional program, and meaning you've never had a certificate to go and write APC. All of those are first-time candidates. You need the certificate from us to go and write APC. So that's the first group. The second group of candidates that need certificates are repeat candidates. And I want to address the repeat candidates because this way I always have a problem that where we have repeat candidates that do not take the program seriously. I liked a comment that I saw Ketabahle put in the chat box to say, guys, let's start over. Pretend we don't know anything. That's the best attitude you can have towards this program. Because I want you guys to work as equally hard as the first-time candidates to go and address all the issues that we had previously, as in what you struggled with. I want us to really give this program a good go, as if we're working, and it's not just as if we're working for a certificate. We are, as repeaters. I want us to work for a certificate as well. So I want at the end of this program, at the end of October, I want to award all of you guys certificates, both the repeaters and first timers. I don't want repeaters taking it slow, taking it easy, and deciding which case study you're going to sit for, which one you're not going to sit, because you're already in a position of a valid certificate and you can write for another year or write for another 2 years. No, that would be a bad attitude. I want you to push hard. I want you to push hard. Okay? Because I really, 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 really want you guys to excel at this. I want every single one of you guys who's on this platform this morning to really get the certificate at the end of the program. Whether you've got the existing certificate or you don't, you need to get the certificate, because that certificate will validate that and give you additional confidence that I've worked on everything, and EPC thinks I'm ready to enter the profession. Do you get what I'm saying, guys? I want you to get that. So it's so important that for me, then now I'm going to talk to you guys about the eligibility for EPC certificate. That who is going to get the certificate? The people that are going to get the certificate are the people that demonstrate competence in 2 of the 3 case studies. So we're going to have 3 case studies during the year: July, September, and October. You demonstrate competence in 2 of those 3. And the first of the 2 may be borderline. It will be fine. Okay, let me show you. Okay, maybe let me talk about the case studies. Remember, it's going to be the baseline case study. Let me go back. Yeah. We're going to have the 3 case studies, the names for the case studies. The first one is the baseline case study. And the baseline case study is really going to be your first case study, because we will practice using what we call a mini case study, which is the previous SAICA ICAS or ICANN case study, but it doesn't count. Then we're going to write this full case study called a baseline case study. And then in that baseline case study, I would say it like I said it in the open day, we're going to have the eager beavers, okay, that are going to demonstrate competent. Either they're going to be borderline competent, which is amazing. For a first case study to get borderline, it's amazing. Or they're going to get competent, or they're going to get highly competent. And that is amazing. Consider yourself an eager beaver. You just hit the ground running from the word go. And then you're going to have the second case study, which is the final case study. And then if you are the eager beaver, you got competent or borderline competent in the baseline, and you get competent or highly competent in the final, then you get our EPC certificate. So by the beginning of October, you will then have that certificate already. But then there will be other candidates, which are ordinary candidates like me, that would not hit the ground running, but I want everyone to hit the ground running. I'm encouraging you to all hit the ground running, excel from the baseline. But if you didn't excel from the baseline, it's okay. Meaning, which candidates are this? Maybe they'll get limited competent in the baseline case study. Okay, then we will learn from all the feedback we get from the baseline. Then they will get either competent or borderline in the final case study. All right. Okay. Which is quite an improvement because they've worked on the issues, then which is perfect. But no certificate yet, remember, because we want you to demonstrate competence twice. Or they got borderline competent. Then it's okay. Then we send them to the third case study, which is called the supplementary case study. Then they demonstrate competence again, meaning they are competent or highly competent, not borderline. Then we will certify those candidates as well. Does it make sense? So it's either you start as an eager beaver, competent, get a certificate, or borderline competent, you get a certificate, or limited competent, limited competent, competent, and competent, you get a certificate, or limited competent, borderline competent, and then competent, you get a certificate. Who have I left out? There's one group that I've left out. Which group is that? Fikile is saying borderline competent and borderline competent. They will go to the SAP and demonstrate competence. This is what, this is the next group. Let me show you. There we go. Yeah, you can lower your hands for now because I think I'm going to address it in the slide. So can you guys see? You've got competent, and then you've got competent, the eager beavers. They don't have to write the SAP. They get the EPC certificate from a preliminary at the beginning of October. Borderline in the baseline, candidate profile 2, and then final. They got competent, also EPC certificate awarded. Then we spoke about candidate 3 to 6 that either started at limited competent, and then they went and demonstrated competence or borderline competence. They go to SAP, and if they get competent at the SAP, then they're competent and get a certificate. Candidate 5 is what I think one of you guys was talking about. a shame, and they just didn't improve. But they started very well, and they just maintained that. They will go to the SAP, and then if they get a C, they will get a certificate. Candidate 6, it's a little bit odd. It's unusual for one to be a candidate 6 because it's sort of like they're regressing. We'll send them to a SAP. And if they demonstrate competence, then they're fine. So, guys, I want every one of you guys to be candidate 1 until 6 only. Candidate 7 to 10. I don't want you guys are starting this program today, and I want you guys to really be in those candidates, because let's take candidate 9 and 10, for instance. They get limited competent in both the first two, baseline case study and final case study. What do we do with them? We will send them to the SAP. But in the SAP, you really have to give us a competent, no question asked. And that's why candidates 7 to 10, at the end of the final case study, we're going to give you a letter saying your EPC certificate is at risk. Okay. Meaning you really need to pull a miracle and get those C's in the SAP. And if you get a C in the SAP, then we will award you with a certificate. Candidate 10, unfortunately, if it's an LC and supplementary LC, then you're not going to get the certificate. I hope no one will be there. And candidate 11, if you are absent for both the baseline and final, you're not going to be even eligible to write the SAP. Okay. All right. But if you are absent for one, there's a guidance around why were you absent, do you apply for concession, etc. You will, in the eligibility for certification criteria, which is on your portal, you can go look at it. And in a case where you will be absent for one of the case studies, but you can't be absent for two of the baseline and final. Okay. All right, let me pause there. Let me respond to comments. Bali, can I write the SAP even if I was competent in all, but just need that last feedback as practice? Absolutely. The candidate 1 and 2 that will be certified after the first 2 case studies, you voluntarily are welcome to write the SAP, and we'll still mark it and give you full feedback. Just as a matter of practice. Okay. Khonsi, are we allowed to write the SAP? Okay. Yes. I think it's the same question, Khonsi, as what Mbali has asked. Yes, I've responded to that. Vena, you can go ahead. Vena, you've got your hand up? Vena? Maybe do you want to type it out if your mic is giving you challenges? All right. So, which candidate do you guys want to be? Which candidate profile do you want to be? Just put it into the chat box and be realistic. Okay. I know we all want to be candidate 1, but given where you are, what candidate do you want to be? GPest. Most want to be 1 or 2. I'm really, can we guys work hard at it and be that candidate 1 and 2, please? I'm rooting for you guys. And we're going to have all the support for you guys to make sure you are candidate 1 or 2. Right. Now let's move on. Now let's do the overall assessment. How do we decide whether a candidate is competent or what overall outcome do we award a candidate? Let's look at Alice. Okay. Alice has got task A, task B, task C, D, E, F, G. And Alice got 2 competent outcomes, 2 borderline competent outcomes, and 3 limited competent outcomes. What would be Alice's overall outcome? Anyone can shout out? Open your mic and tell me what you think. Anyone who wants to voice it out? No.
LC.
Why LC?
LC. Because he or she got more LC on 3 tasks, and then only 2 C's.
Absolutely. Guys, Alice will be overall limited competent. And the reason Alice will be overall limited competent is because Alice has more than 2 limited competent outcomes. The moment you've got more than 2 LCs, then it falls into an LC. Okay. So you'll read it also in the eligibility criteria that avoid the LCs as much as possible. Avoid the LCs as much as possible. The moment you get more than 2, okay, 2 is risking it, but it's still okay. But getting more than 2 LCs is sending you into a limited overall. Okay. Now, let's go to Becky. Becky didn't get more than 2 LCs, which is a good start. What would be the overall outcome for Becky? Becky's got 2 C's, 3 BCs, and 2 LCs. What would be Becky's overall outcome? Yes, Rosemary?
I'm gonna go with an LC because I see that I was rated the same with the attempt in December. So 2 C's, 3 BCs, 2 LCs, and overall was an LC.
I see. And I guess, and I'm glad you're sharing that confidential information, but I'm going to unpack probably on that. Because this, Becky, the starting point will put Becky on a BC. Meaning the system, based on this, let's just say the system will plug Becky on a BC. Okay, why? Because we always say a C dilutes an LC to have a BC. So remember task A and task B, Becky has got a C. So the 2 C's will average the task F and task G, the LCs, and make them sort of like BCs. So it's as if Becky has got 5 BCs, being the 3 BCs that Becky has got, plus a mixture of the C's and the LCs gives you 2 more BCs. So Becky has got 5 BCs with no C then on an overall. So then Becky is a true borderline candidate, meaning we need to go into a room now, and now I'm not going to say flip the coin, but really interrogate a Becky to say whether this BC, is it going to, because we can't publish an overall outcome and call it a BC. Yes, for baseline case study and the final case study, we can do that. We can publish and say it's a BC. But for our supplementary and EdPsycha or ICANN or ICARES, we can't say someone is borderline because what is it? Then we get into a room as the senior markers to decide, does it go this way or the other way? Okay, so but Becky is BC. Let's go to Cedric. And I'm going to come back also to your comment, Rosemary, because it's quite useful. Cedric has got 3 C's, 2 BCs, and 2 LCs. What is Cedric? What's Cedric's overall? Yes, at first glance, Cedric is an overall competent candidate. Okay. It's quite close because Cedric did 3 competent, 2 borderline competent, and 2 limited competent. Meaning didn't do anything over and above, but didn't get more than 2 LCs, got at least 3 Cs, and then it's overall C. Ketabahle, so Fedi, in essence, we can only be C or LC after the exam. Never end. That's why I'm saying, Ketabahle, the final, okay, so baseline and final here at EPC, we will have a overall borderline, okay, because it's not our last assessment. But when we get to the SAP, everyone has to be either overall C or LC. You can't be borderline, because at the time we need to make sure you've got a pass or a fail. Okay, we can't still be sitting on the fence. Okay. Tuma, if you get LC in an, okay, Tuma, that's what I wanted to come to with Rosemary's question. Mokhetwa, why is Cedric not a BC overall? Don't the 2 C's get diluted, then he only has 1 C? So absolutely, Mokhetwa. So if you look at Cedric, the 2 C's of Cedric will dilute the 2 LCs. So it's as if then Cedric has got 1 remaining LC together with 4 BCs, being the current 2 BCs and the 2 BCs that have been diluted by the Cs. So getting 1 C together with 4 BCs, then Cedric is a pass, because a C then is weighing him into pulling this overall BC into a C. Because, and we always say the BCs won't pull you down, guys. So if you're going to get anything other than a C, let it be a BC, because a BC won't pull you down. Like someone who gets 6 BCs, let's say, and a C will definitely be a C, because that 1 C pulls you into a C. There's nothing else C that is pulling you down. Okay. Let's go to Dineo, and we're going to bring accounting after Dineo. What do you guys Dineo is? What do you think Dineo is?
NC.
Who's that? Why Nyasha? Why LC Nyasha?
I said NC.
Oh, overall not competent.
That's what I think.
That's very harsh. I mean, after having demonstrated highly competent and competent at some point. Jeanette, what do you think Dineo is?
I think she's an LC because of the NC that she obtained in G.
Unfortunately, Dineo is a limited competent because of just that not competent. And you can see it's been the last task, probably Dineo, when she got, or he got to task G, just wrote the format of the email and say, hi, I've run out of time. Kind regards, candidate. And that is the not competent, didn't have enough time. Then as a result, Dineo didn't manage time efficiently, and Dineo will be limited competent. Dineo will be limited competent. Which is sad, because Dineo was having a very good day, if you guys can see, eh? So what are you learning from Dineo, guys? Yes, Mpumi.
I think she didn't plan her time well, so that was a downfall, because you need to have planned time for all the tasks.
Time for all the tasks. You've got to give them equal prominence. Because if Dineo, that last task was an LC, if Dineo just put 2-3 paragraphs that have some competence in them, Dineo would be overall competent. Okay. So please, guys, allocate your time sufficiently across all the tasks. Right. So let's go back to all except Dineo. So let's say, for instance, Cedric. If I were to tell, remember Cedric, we said okay, let me just recapture those.
Because
Sorry, Vena, close the mic. BC, C, and LC. Yeah, those are our overall. Let's go back to Cedric. What if I tell you task D and E are accounting tasks? Task D and E are not D. Sorry. Task F and G. Task F and G are accounting tasks. Will Cedric still be a C overall? If task F and G are accounting tasks, will Cedric still be overall C? No. So accounting, you need to average BC at least. So you can't get 2 LCs in accounting and we say you are a chartered accountant. You are clearly not a chartered accountant. Okay? You are a chartered tax or a chartered auditor or chartered. Do you get what I'm saying? So because we emphasize accounting, you must make sure you get your C's in accounting, guys. Okay? So, and Rosemary, maybe I guess when we do the one-on-ones also, we'll unpack your scenario, because if your profile looks like Becky's profile, we need to just look at where accounting was sitting, because it could have been something that pulled the BC down into NLC, but we can take it offline. Okay. Do you guys see how we get to overall outcomes? Okay. Okay, great. All right, and I'm glad you guys are going to be working towards being candidate 1 and 2. Oh, sorry, I think I've got a question. Is it Ayanda? Yeah, Ayanda.
Oh, hi everyone. Ayabulela.
It's Ayabulela. Sorry, yes, go for it.
Is there any other discipline where the accounting rule would apply? Or it just applies to accounting only? What about auditing? No.
Yeah. So there are other rules, but you see, accounting brings you down, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But there are other rules, such as maybe we have a very good critical thinking math task, or a very good critical thinking audit task that a lot of people are struggling with. We call those redeeming tasks. So let's say we're sitting with a borderline candidate, but they did well at a math task that everyone is getting wrong, or an audit task that everyone is getting wrong. But this candidate is a BC. So then we'll say, oh, but because they did so well in a task that everyone is failing, then that is redeeming the candidate. It's giving us evidence that the candidate, as much as they're sitting on borderline, they are being pulled into competent, meaning not the other way, not pulling them down. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. We call them redeeming tasks based on the level of difficulty and how other people are performing in them.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. Thanks, Ayabulela. It's a very, very intensive process, a subjective process as well. I want to come to here. Our APC professional program, just to talk to you guys about where we're going. But let me see. I want to just see the comments in the chat box. So Rosemary, thanks. Pearl, what about ethics? Doesn't that break? Oh, yes, Pearl, thank you for reminding us of that. Yes, ethics does pull you down as well. So it's accounting and ethics, okay? Because we want ethical accountants. So ethics also could pull you down. You're quite right. Marais, are those rules? Yes, if you go to our guidance, eligibility criteria guidance on your portal, we've documented all those, call it considerations, just so that we are transparent about how, what are the goalposts up front, so that you are aware of them. Okay. Wisani, we were once told ethics takes us to LC. That's correct. Why were we not told this before? Okay. Katabahle, I always tell you guys in this session at the beginning of each program. I'm not sure if you missed it or you are with us for the first time. Oba King, what about? Yeah, I think we addressed that. Good. So let's talk about our journey. So guys, now it's April, and we are in the phase which we call the development phase. And this is where we're going to make sure you guys understand and develop all the pervasive and professional competencies. All the competencies, every session you'll see. Yes, on Tuesday, I'm finalizing with you guys this just understanding the case study. But from there, Saturday, Randani is dealing with business acumen, and you guys are going to deal with critical thinking, technical acumens, etc., professional values and attitudes. All those competencies, will be dealing with them on a weekly basis. And please remember that in most instances, you need to look at your face note to know exactly what you need to do before the session and then after the session, as well as your weekly tasks as well. Okay. And then in May, we're going to jump into what we call the demonstration phase. And in the demonstration phase, we then now are saying, you know, all these competencies now, these professional competencies. Let's use, before we get into assessment phase and the case studies, let's use a previous SAICA or ICAS APC case study to show you how you need to attempt the case study. And every weekend we'll use one task to demonstrate to you. And then once we are done demonstrating to you, we'll give you a 4-task case study, which we call a mini case study, not 7 or 8 or 9, like only 4, which we're going to write during like a day, like on a Saturday morning. You guys will write that case study from, let's say, 8 o'clock to 1 o'clock, not the full day, let's say until lunchtime. Then so that we can mark you guys and give you feedback to work on before we get to the baseline, so that you get some practice as well. Okay. And then we get to the assessment phase. That's where it's the 3 case studies at that time. Okay. So please take the mini case study seriously, because it helps you to really hit the ground running when we get to baseline case study. Am I making sense? Okay. Katabahle saying, last year I didn't register. The previous year after the March attempt, I didn't get my script. Okay. I get you, Katabahle. Cool, Portia. The eligibility notes are not yet included in the guidance folder on my OneDrive. Okay, I hope my team is taking note of that, just to check why they're not there yet. Okay. Oh, the timing for the mini case study is sitting. If you look at that demonstration phase, it says learn how to demonstrate professional competencies developed in the previous phase using a multidisciplinary case study in the form of a previous SAICA or ICAS APC case study. So that will happen. It's sometime towards the end of May, and then we mark it during the beginning of June. But just check the timetable. It's there as to when is the date for writing the case study, the mini case study. I can actually also quickly check for you the specific date for the mini case study. Okay, timetable. And then on the timetable, we are attempting the mini case study on the 25th of May, but the pre-release of it is coming out. I think it's coming out on the 11th of May. Yeah, after How and What to Research. Or is it earlier than that? Yes, somewhere. Okay, so 25th of May, that's Saturday. I know it's payday, don't have any other plans, but your plans will be to come and sit for the mini case study. Okay. All right. And Keta, I think, yes. Once your profile will be activated once paid. Let me show you a development phase note. So a development phase note looks like this. So this is a phase note. And it's a document that you need to leave with. Stembingo seats, it's going to be the morning. Just book out the whole morning, I think until, just book to be safe until 2:00. Okay. Including submissions, times, etc. Okay. Right. So this phase note, it must be your continuous Bible in this program because it tells you what, yes, you read it together with a timetable and monthly note, but it's very detailed to tell you what's the objective of each of the session, what's the work you need to do before the session, and then what are we going to do in the session, during the session, and what's the work to do after the session. You'll see that for this session, you would have said, what is the objective of the session? Being to introduce the program and to outline, discuss, and understand all professional competencies, which we've done. And we'll unpack the 3-bubble picture, which we've done. And the work before the session, you didn't have to do anything, which is unlikely. You didn't have to do anything other than to download the material. And during the session, we discussed everything. Let's see. The session will facilitate discussion on technical competencies, enabling competencies and professional values and attitudes. Did you not do that? To be a competent professional accountant and consequently a responsible business leader. We will also outline the eligibility criteria for the award of EPC certificate. Did we not do that? We will discuss what lies ahead in your journey and introduce our wellness support, which we'll do with Kiobaka. Yes, okay. What to do after the session in discussing the APC, we'll provide you with a short example, which is what we're going in to do. So you can see it says what to do after the session. In discussing the APC, we will provide you with a short example of a pre-released information that contains a trigger. We'll discuss the trigger and how to go about evaluating and researching the trigger. But after the session, you are required to respond to the task and keep your response handy for the next session. Okay, so that is what is going to be required for you to do after the session. But before I do that, I want to then talk about this developmental concepts and the mini case, let's not call it mini case study. Let's call it the trigger so that you guys can start understanding this case study. But let me pause here before I talk about this case study. Any question, anything that we can help with before we jump in preparing for Tuesday evening? Anything? Okay, Kuselo, go for it.
I just want to ask, in the past few years, SAICA has actually been consistent with actually having 7 tasks in the assessment. So but then in one of the case studies last in Dunam, there's been more than 7 tasks. So so are you guys in this year gonna be consistent with SAC in terms of having 7 tasks in the assessment, or can we expect more?
Good
Task.
question, Kuselo. I guess yes. The trend from SAICA of late has been to have 7 tasks, but also I guess as their guidance documents do say, it doesn't mean that's the rule. As in, we can't just expect that it will always be 7. It could be 8, it could be 9, it could be anything. Okay, so us at EPC will continue to not be consistent. So some case studies might have 7 to align with SAICA's recent trend. Some may have 8, some may have 12, whatever the number is. But I guess the biggest challenge is we've got to make sure that whatever number must be a candidate must be able to complete within 8 hours. So we can't go and give you 12 long tasks that you can't finish, and then that won't be responsible and reasonable. So we will continue just making it whatever number, just so that if SAICA's trend comes to an end, you guys don't get shocked when you get to SAICA and say, oh my word, EPC only trained me to get through 7. How am I dealing with more than 7? Do you get what I'm saying, Kuselo?
Yes, I do, but cannot 12.
Good. Oh, just not 12. Thank you. Okay, I'll make sure not 12. Thanks. I see Peggy's asking, how does one find groups, meaning teams to join? There will be a session where we talk about working together as a team. And in that session, and there will also be, ahead of that, there will be guidance as to how you guys find teams or join teams, and we'll unpack it and we'll help you through that process. So don't worry about it for now. I know people already want to, what's the word? Capture all the eager beavers to be in their groups. I would say just relax for a bit. And you don't know who's who as yet. So let's learn the people first before we choose and commit to other individuals. All right. You can see I'm not reading as many of the administrative questions where people are struggling with portals, etc. I'm assuming my support team is picking those up. And I think one of the caretakers indicated at the beginning to say just WhatsApp me on a particular number so that they can assist you on that. What is the question? Please explain again the assessment tool. What do you mean assessment tool, Nyenyana? What is the assessment tool? Okay, maybe you'll communicate.
Hi,
Right.
Betty. Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can.
Yes. Okay. The difference between the specimen marking grid and the solution. Can you just
I see.
explain that part again?
Yes. So if we talk about those assessment tools, so specimen solution is what your response should have looked like. But I guess this one is a perfect solution. Like, let's say we say respond to this email and attach a memo discussing the accounting treatment. Then the lecturers or the professional team would have put together their own email together with the technical memo discussing that accounting treatment. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's exactly what is expected of you to do, but I guess it would have been done at an expert level and reviewed, and they did it not under exam pressure. So it's a perfect solution. Okay, it's like a memo, which you guys are gonna learn from, because after every case study, we're gonna give it back to you so that you mark yourself and you learn, you read it, you learn from it, you keep on referring back to it. And that specimen solution, we summarize it into a marking grid, which is just now taking those things and making them competencies, task level indicators, to just say there are 10 issues that are being addressed, and you need to address all 10, or you need to address so many of the 10, but like just quick descriptions of those. And then the straw man is how many of those indicators of the 10 do you need to be competent? Is it 6 out of 10? Is it 5 out of 10, etc.? Happy?
Yes, thank you.
Cool. Right. Guys, I want to then just use the remaining 20 minutes of my time to introduce what we're going to be doing on Tuesday. So on Tuesday, but before Tuesday, let's deal with this now. So I want to give you an example of a case study. And an example of a case study is what you see on the screen. I took a case study, a previous ICAS or PSYCA case study, and I put it on one slide. Remember, I said to you guys, you will always get 15-page document called a pre-released information on a Friday morning. Well, I guess today is not Friday morning, but I want to just illustrate the point. So think about this, what you see on the screen, as a pre-released information of a 15-page containing this. What does this thing say? It says on-time airline. I hope I'm not triggering anyone. Okay. And this was a point for me to help us deal with this academic failure. And they will come and tell us why. Who am I talking about? I see a lot of smiley and laughing faces. But guys, the more we talk about it, the more we deal with it. So on-time airline was established during the COVID-19 lockdowns. There was an opportunity to innovate by tweaking existing airline operating models. There were no legacy issues with systems, aircraft, and staff. So it was a unique opportunity to start from scratch. On-time operates daily scheduled flights between OR Tambo and Cape Town, and flights between OR Tambo and King Shaka. Okay, so this flights, they just fly between OR Tambo and Joburg to Cape Town, or between OR Tambo and King Shaka. Okay, it's not a big airline there. On time leases 4 pre-owned Airbus 320 aircraft under 10-year dry leases. Cheapest. It's just so much there. But anyway, the lessors provide only the aircraft, being the seats, branding, and all fittings, while the lessee is responsible for everything else. Each of On-Time's 4 aircraft is configured to have 174 economy class seats. There are no business class. Or first class sections. So it's just economy. Load factor is a KPI in this industry, and there were 701,568 passengers that traveled with On Time during the financial year ended 31 December 2023. Selected financial information for financial year 2023 in rand thousands. Depreciation for the right of use assets is 64 million. Interest expense for the lease liabilities is 53 million. Right of use assets is 479 million. Lease liabilities, the current portion is 104 million, and the non-current portion is 445 million. And the average annual flights per aircraft is 1,440 flying 360 days, and 5 or 6 days reserved for maintenance. Okay. So you see, it's like a scenario. You usually get it 5 days before the day of the assessment as what we call a pre-release information. And when I was reading it just to understand the information, but I was really not unpacking it, right? And that can be enough, because I really said to you guys, then what you need to do is firstly to go and be in the context of this business. Really go and simmer yourself in the context of this business, which is what we need to do. Okay. Which is what we need to do. Okay. So guys, let's do that. And yes, and I'm sorry guys for triggering you. Really, really. I just wanted us to get it out of the system and, forgive ourselves and really start working hard. So, guys, let's read this now with a deeper meaning for every little word, every little sentence. Own this business the way Fedi wanted us to read this business, okay? And own this business as if it's ours. So let's do that. And that's your job that you guys are going to do with Rendani on Saturday. At least it's not going to be on an airline industry. It will be on a nice case study that we'll post for you guys on Tuesday. Remember, we said we'll post it after our Tuesday session. But this is a little example that we'll only address for the purpose of this session and the Tuesday session. So let's read again now, but now with an intention to really grasp every concept. On-Time Airline was established during COVID-19 lockdowns. When was that? Do you guys remember? Do you see how you start interrogating? I need to be in context of knowing when this was established during the COVID-19 lockdowns. Guys, when was that? Unless I'm not on mute, I'm not sure if everyone can hear me, right? Oh. Yeah, 2020, March 2020. I think it was 26 March 2020. And then that's when we were on a hard lockdown level 5. And then I guess different countries may have different dates between that 26. But SA, I think, was 26 March. And then it was level 5, I think, until June or July. I can't remember. But you see, that's what you Google just to confirm and write the note there to say, I guess if you're in South Africa, you will write the lockdown days for South Africa and say 26 March and be exact, 26 March until this level 5. Between this and that, level 4. Between this and that, level 3. And then until we got to level 1, and then you need to have that context, and it's part of your preparation and working the journey. So then I guess now it tells you when was online airtime established? Was it during the hard lockdown, or you've got a question mark to say which one, which part was it? Okay. There was an opportunity to innovate by tweaking existing airline operating models. And I will try to read around, I guess, for the airline industry, how were they performing during the lockdowns? Were they in business? Were they struggling? Or were they thriving? Because I'm trying to establish whether the lockdown created a barrier to the entry or it created an opportunity to enter this market, because I see On-Time started then. Maybe it was an opportunity, but it looks like it's because you need to tweak, meaning there must be a struggle with the existing operating model. I will Google and read about that fact. There were no legacy issues with our systems. I guess Yeah, because we're starting from scratch as on time. Can you see I say we? Because I'm already owning this business. We didn't have old systems. We didn't have legacy aircraft. We didn't have legacy stuff. We are appointing new people. We're buying new aircrafts and we're installing new systems. So it was a unique opportunity to start from scratch. On time, operates daily scheduled flights between OR Tambo and Cape Town, like we said, and between OR Tambo and King Shaka. So 2 routes only. And I'm assuming return as well. On time leases 4 pre-owned Airbus 320 aircraft under 10-year dry leases. Okay, so 4 aircrafts. Does it mean 2 go to OR Tambo, 2 go to Cape Town, 2 go to Durban? Or does it mean it just depends on demand? I guess that's a question I have. How big are the 320? I think that information is coming in the next sentence. But they say they are leasing them under a dry lease. Guys, I'm an auditor and I audit banks. So I'm sitting here and I'm saying, what is a dry lease? I didn't know before I read it. Then I guess now we need to go and Google what a dry lease is. And when I download, what's the word? Google and read what a dry lease is, and it is consistent with the next sentence to say the lessor provides only the aircraft, being the seats, the branding, and all fittings, while the lessee is responsible for everything else. So everything else being the crew, that's the the flight attendant, the pilot, etc. Okay, so that is important for you to know. But what's the alternative? Is there something else that could happen? I guess something else. If it's not a dry lease, then what kind of a lease would it be, guys? Is that not the only lease under this type of an industry? It's a wet lease. Okay, so a wet lease, then I go Google it as well, and then I see, with a wet lease, you get everything. So actually, they give you the lessor provides you with the aircraft together with the crew that operates it. Okay. What else? Then I continue reading. Each of On Time's 4 aircraft is configured to have 174 economy class seats. Oh, wow. So it's quite a big bus. 174 economy, no business class, no first class. It's going to make our life easier because then there will be a single price or single price setting. There's not going to be, what do we call it? Mixed in management decision making and control, where we've got various products and mixed selling, sales mix, yes. We're not going to have sales mix and try to evaluate what's the optimum if how many all the business classes are filled up but limited economy, and have that, what do you call it again in management decision making, the optimum level. Okay, you guys know what I'm talking about. Okay, the point of equilibrium. All right, load factor is a KPI in this industry. Guys, what's a load factor? I mean, if I'm not in the airline, I'll have to research and understand what is a load factor. You can't just go over a word and be like, maybe it's nothing important. They say it's a KPI. And what's a KPI? Guys, talk to me. What is KPI and what's a load factor? Hello? KPI is key performance indicator. Load factor. Raise your hand, someone. You guys are quieter. Go for it, Josephine. I think load factor is the number of passengers you carry it in one given route. Ah, yes. Load factor is the number of passengers that you carry, and I googled it as well. Number of passengers you carried as a percentage of the capacity, right? Okay, I see. Load factor percentage of seats that have been sold for a single flight. Yeah, total number of passengers over the total travel ticket purchase. So if we've got 4 aircraft, and each one carries 174, how many do they fly? So average annual flights per aircraft is 1,440. Okay, flying 360 days and 5 or 6 days reserved for maintenance. So 5 days in a normal year and 6 days in a leap year like 2024. So it means because they can't fly all 365 days or all 366 days. So the 5 or the 6 days is reserved for maintenance. They fly 360 days, but the average annual flights per aircraft is 1,440. Who? And flying 360 days. Guys, what's the average number of flights then per aircraft? What's the average number of flights per aircraft? It's 1,440. What about per day? Can you guys calculate for me the average number of flights per aircraft per day?
Flights per day.
Sorry, Les?
Flights per day.
No, per day. You guys seems to be talking about percentages.
4 flights per
4.
day.
Yes. So 4. So the flights may be 4 per day because I said 1,440 is per aircraft per year because that's annual. Flying 360 days, so divide by 360, then I get 4. Okay. So it might be then going to Cape Town and coming back. All right. I guess, does that make sense in terms of the number of hours a day? Or meaning, can one aircraft go to Cape Town and come back and go again to Cape Town? Or if it's coming back from Cape Town, it's went to Cape Town and came back, it must go to Durban. What's the distance, flying distance to Cape Town? 2 and 05 2 hours and 05 minutes, whereas Durban is less. It's 1 hour 05, I think, something like that. I'll Google those and just try to actually also understand whether one aircraft can just do one route repeatedly, or you've got to balance it out, that it goes there, come back, goes to other area, which is shorter, and then the other one does the other side. So that's just now managing timings and etc. But I guess flying, you can also still fly at night, but there's a point, I think, when the starting and the ending happens. So those are the things that you would do to really understand this business, guys, to really understand the business. Okay. So which I think I've done here. Oh, yeah, well, I mean, this is just defining that business context and business acumen, which we'll unpack with Rendani on Saturday. Oh, okay. I think I've opened your slide deck, not mine. But let me see something. Let me see something quickly. Okay, yeah. And then, okay, maybe one last thing I wanted to chat to you is on the selected financial information. I guess understanding what is a right of use asset and what is the interest expense, the lease liability, how it works. I guess this looks like more IFRS 16 elements, but you'll unpack that. So then now we said the pre-released information, after understanding the business context, also has triggers. So, I mean, so far, and after understanding the business context, we probably then don't know what we need to do. Like, because we understand this business very well. It's like we don't work for banks anymore. It's like we work for an airline business. Then what should I do during these 5 days? Then the pre-release information will contain triggers, and this is how the triggers look like. So if you look at this, it starts by saying, okay, let me see here. It starts by saying, firstly, several customers have requested that on time explore the possibility of introducing a George OR Tambo flight route. I surmise that this is based on the recent resurgence of Southern Cape as a tourist destination and semigration activity, an interesting prospect, particularly given our ability to operate additional routes if underpinned by wet lease. Then the ask is there. Please could I ask that you apply yourself to this? Given the passenger demand, we could operate 2 return flights on the route per day. Guys, do you see how expressive it is to say, I want you to go and apply yourself to this situation and tell me when you come back on the day of the assessment, I'm going to have questions for you, or I'm going to have tasks for you to do for me. But please, could I ask that you apply yourself to this? The fact that the business wants to go and introduce another route, instead of just having Cape Town and Durban as the 2 routes, to introduce an OR Tambo George route. Guys, what would you do about this? What kind of work are you guys going to do? Because I want you guys to be experts in assisting management in executing this or evaluating this proposition. Market research. That's quite nice. Les? Josephine, I think your hand is a legacy hand, eh?
I was gonna say I'll first panic and then go into that market research that was mentioned.
Agreed? Only. Are we all just going to do market research? Decision making. Gift. You are now also on the good track. You will study decision making to determine financial impact between alternatives. I guess it's either we don't introduce this new route or we do. Okay, so decision making. How do we make decisions? What's the technical concept around that? The way we refresh technical knowledge on decision making, NPV calculations, absolutely. NKM, you are on the right track. That's a very good way. Okay, and then guys, we've got also the other trigger, which I'm not going to read, and I want you guys to read. Okay, and then I want you guys to do exactly that, to really look at these 2 triggers. And once you look at these 2 triggers and look at what they're asking you to do and do it, make sure you are the expert in both the 2 triggers. Okay, because it's firstly and lastly. Okay, and I've done it for you here. Okay, I've done it for you. This is going to be where we start, but I want you guys to go do it, analyze the trigger, research it. Okay, and then actually study. Study whatever you want to study. And then you'll see I've done for both the first trigger and the second trigger. And then the technical acumen is coming. Oh, yes. So I thought I gave you the task. Oh, no. I said we'll do the task on Tuesday together. Okay. I want to see whether you guys can do this. Yes. Yes. But it might just make sense. Maybe let's do it this way. I think I'm going to change my approach. So you've got the triggers. You go and evaluate these triggers, and you evaluate what you need to do. You study whatever you need to study. And then you compare your notes with mine, which is here for the first trigger and here for the second trigger. And once you are done, what I'm going to do on Monday, I'm going to send you the task. I'm going to send you one of the tasks. You don't know which one, either the first or the second. And then I want you to spend 30 minutes or 45 minutes or an hour, but not more than an hour. Just attempt the task, either the first or the second, but I'm not going to send you two, so that when we come to class on Tuesday, you've already done the task. And then we discuss it at length. But this is where we're going to start. We're going to start at evaluating whether you got the trigger the same way I did, and you unpacked it the same way I did. And then how did you find doing the task? That's what we're going to do on Tuesday. Okay. Is that okay? Great. Okay. Elishiba, you seems to have a question. Let's go for